Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm all by myself this morning. I'm videoing by myself because Tim has gone to work, and what I'm cooking today has to do some simmering, and I want the flavors to really have the day to marry before I use it tonight. I'm going to make that homemade spaghetti sauce that we were talking about yesterday when we were making cookies. I am using a recipe that's loosely, I'm not actually following the recipe, but I'm loosely following a recipe from a cookbook that I've had for the past 40 years, The Better Homes and Garden. Um, Everybody must have one of those. Those were the most popular cookbooks years ago, and I understand they still sell so well. So we might as well just get right to this. I will give you the ingredients kind of when I post the video, but again, it's going to be you'll see how you're going to flavor it the way you want. I've started out with I have my onions and peppers, and I'm going to show you how to cut that pepper over there in a minute. I'm using my grease because I want that meat flavor. I'm not looking for the butter flavor that I normally am. The pepper over here that still needs to be cut, I just wanted to show you because some people don't always know how to cut them. I buy these, well, the label's gone, but it's a bag of sweet onions. The label's gone, so I can't show you, but it's a bag of sweet peppers, not onions. And I just cut the top off right here. And I split it down the middle, as you can see, so it's in two pieces. I just take out the seeds and the veins, and then I just loosely cut it. I don't even pay attention to the shape or the size of any of my pieces, because when I'm doing something like spaghetti sauce, I really like to have a nice, good piece of something to bite into. As you can see, I've already got the pan hot. Here's my second. See, I'm just going to take out the seeds. And if there's a vein in there, the vein was on the other side, so it's not on this side, and I'm just literally going to do the same thing. I'm just loosely cutting it, throwing it in my pan. So there's your onions, and there are, in this bag, there was red, yellow, and orange, but I used the red the other day. I didn't realize there was only one or two reds, so all I've got is yellow and orange in here today, but that's okay. So here you go. Here's it sizzling. One thing we really want to make sure for me, I'm going to don't want to forget my mushrooms. I'm a fan of ported mushrooms. And we're just going to let that simmer out. When it gets to a certain way, when it's almost all done, you know I'm going to add garlic to it because that's what I do. I'm going to do my little garlic trick. Not yet, though. We don't do it in the beginning because we never want our garlic to burn. So we just kind of let these guys do their thing. And while they're doing their thing... Oops, sorry. I put my hand in front of the camera. That was awful. I should have lifted it up a different way. Taping on your own, it's not always the easiest thing to do. So as that is cooking down the way it's supposed to, a couple of different things. I'm going to be using my tomatoes from the garden, and so later on in the year we can find out how I process them, and it's really easy. But here is a bag of tomatoes from the garden. What I have done obviously was to get them cooked down just for that minute for the peel to come off, and I loosely cut them in my hand, and I literally stuff a bag full. So this has been in the freezer, and I'm going to cut the top off of this bag, and I'm going to set it right in the middle of my pan. That's going to take the place of 3 cans. They want you to have 3 cans of cut tomatoes. You can have them diced like I have them diced here, or crushed, whatever you prefer, because that tomato is going to hold up pretty much its form. And if you don't like chunky tomato sauce with chunky pieces of tomato, then you won't want diced, you'll want them crushed or whatever. This, of course, they're more pureed because of the way that I process them. So I'm going to, when it's time, I'm literally just going to, which I'll cut now just to get ahead. Cut the top off, and I just peel it back. And then, as you can see, I'm going to just peel this plastic right off this bag and stick it in the middle of the pan. But that's from a minute from now. They're cooking down really good. I'll let you see what's going on here. See how wonderful they are. So while they're cooking down, oh, they look so fantastic. I can smell it. I wish there was some way that you could smell what's going on here, because already it has a great aroma in the kitchen from the smell. So I hope everybody's morning's been good. I've had a fun morning so far. My girl, Erica Martel, and I went over to the farm where I grew up, and it's now owned by Damien and Jessica Boomhauer, but it's where I grew up, and we have decided, both of us, along with other people as well, we're going to buy our milk now fresh from the farm. So we went over at 8:30 this morning and had our jars filled up with fresh milk. And so we're both feeling pretty excited and rich about having this nice fresh milk to be able to feed our families. Erica's going to be making, she's been making for quite a while butter, just like Danielle's been doing, as you've seen Danielle's videos making butter. Maybe I should have her come over here and make butter with us, and that would be fun too. But anyways, Erica's been making butter all along as well, and she's also making yogurt. So the cream that's going to come off of this fresh cow's milk is going to be quite a difference in her world, to be able to make that from the fresh milk and not, you know, trying to buy like heavy cream or whatever in the store and then making it from that. So she's pretty excited. So here we go. It's pretty close to being where we want it to be. We don't need to cook these down as far as if we're making like when we did the rice dish and stuff, because they're still going to cook when they do their simmering later on. So I'm ready to do my usual. I don't know how I do this. I'm just throwing some on the end of a knife. There we go. And I'm just a minute away here from, a moment away I should say. I'm ready to throw some hamburger in there. When I went in the freezer today, the first thing I found was the stuff we packaged up the other day from Hannaford, so I'm going to use that. So remember, we're going to have to drain off the fat later on, because this is not Bob Pavazzi's beautiful lean hamburger, so we will have to drain off the fat later. I had to microwave it to get it to defrost a little bit, because I had made up my mind I was making this morning, and obviously I couldn't do it with it frozen, so I had to microwave it a little bit to defrost it. So there we go. Oh, this is so much fun. Now, when I'm done the basic ingredients that the recipe has, and it's simmered for, you know, 1.5 to 2 hours, when it's done what it's supposed to be, I'm still going to be flavoring it a little bit differently, because I can't tell. I don't know just yet what the flavor will actually be. I am a person who does not like high acidic, tomatoey tasting things. I'm not a pizza girl. I'm admitting that right out loud to everybody, which is probably shocking everybody. I like my stuff, I like to have my acid cut a little bit. Best way to cut your acid, and I've used it for years, is syrup. I put syrup in my spaghetti sauce, always have. So when I'm done with this, I'm not going to be adding syrup to it now, because I don't know what my end flavor is going to be after it simmers for, you know, the 1.5 to 2 hours. I'm not exactly sure what that end flavor is going to be. So because of that, I'm not putting any of my syrup in until later. I'm going to put the 2 teaspoons of brown sugar that it calls for in the regular recipe, and I probably should substitute that for syrup right off, but I'm going to, as I always do, I take a recipe and pretty much verbatim do it, and then I go, oh, you know what I would like to, if I did that again, or when I do that again, I'm going to change this and I'm going to change that. So I'm going to stay as true to the form as I can, adding my own, like, the book didn't have mushrooms, and the book didn't have this or that. I'm adding that right now because I know those are things that I want. But when I'm going to hone in on the flavor, I'll figure that out after I've made it for the first time here, and to see what I like or don't like about the recipe. And as you can see here, we're pretty much all, the hamburger's pretty close to being where it needs to be. Checking out how much grease I have here. Yep, we're going to have to definitely take that off, because remember, it's not lean. So, you know, everything is really ready for the next phase. See, all the hamburgers have been cooked through at that once. I don't want it to be cooked through dry or anything like that. So I'm just going to take this for a minute. I'm going to pull it off for a second. I'm going to run over to the sink, because I can't take you both with me, so you're going to have to be patient without me for a second. But you saw how I did this the other night with the hamburger dish, where I took the grease off the top using a colander. And remember, don't put it down your drain. Using a colander, I get the grease out and I put that grease into another pan and I dispose of it later. I do not, I never put grease down my drain. So here we go. There. Sorry for having to leave an empty screen for a moment, but I couldn't take you with me without Tim, so see, we all miss him. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, as I started showing you, my tomatoes. I'm just going to peel the quart bag off of it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to peel this quart bag right off. I'm going to place it right down the middle of my pan. Actually, I don't think this pan's going to be big enough now. Oh, yeah, I guess it is. If not, I can always put it in a bigger one. I have a bigger kettle, but we'll decide that later. But for right now, just get my ingredients and keep going for you. A small can of tomato paste. Yeah, this pan is not going to work. I'm going to have to use one of my big kettles, which I might as well just convert it into that now while we're here. I love, more than anything, cooking with the cast iron. I really believe things come out differently. Plus, it's the way that my mother's cooked forever, and my mother's mother, and their mother's mothers. It's these pans I'm cooking with were my mother's, and I don't know which side of the family's mothers they were before, but I know generationally they've been in my family a long time. So, yeah, I love them. So I'm going to flip this into, I'm going to turn it down too, by the way. I'm going to flip this, let's see how this works, into a larger, yikes, there, which is cool because now it puts the tomatoes on the bottom where they should be so that they can start melting. Here we go. I'm so glad I did it this way because I like the hamburger cooked in the cast iron skillet anyway, so that's all right. As you can see, this pan is substantially bigger, so this is usually what I cook soups in, this bigger one. I always cook my stews in the cast iron though, but my soups always end up, I start making refrigerator soup and I always think I'm going to stay within the confines of this cast iron, but in the end, for some reason, it always seems bigger. So I can, there. Okay, so it's not cooking so hard, but that's okay. It's only going to take a minute for it to get up to, it's the pan itself needs to heat. So we'll just keep adding our ingredients. So we just added our tomatoes. We just added this 1 can of tomato paste. I'm going to put the 2 teaspoons of brown sugar in like it says, even though later on I think I might change that. I've got 1 1/2 teaspoons of oregano. As you can see, I've got my measuring spoons are exact. That's 1 1/2 teaspoon already. Then I switch spoons. I'm going over to 1 teaspoon of basil. And 1 teaspoon of thyme. And a little bit of salt. I think it's 1 teaspoon of salt. Yeah. Oh, excuse me, I just fibbed. That was 1/2 teaspoon of basil and 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, but 1 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. The 1 teaspoon itself is used on the salt. And, as usual, I'm going to put the salt in there for a change and see what happens. I'm not, you know me, I always cut down on that. I'm going to throw some random pepper over it, just a little bit. And the only thing missing is I'm going to pour over the top of this 2 cups of water. And then I'm just going to walk away. I'm going to get that all up to boiling status because, of course, the pan hasn't completely heated up yet. Not to mention the fact that once I put the frozen tomatoes on the bottom, it needs to heat back up again to be able to, that's going to defrost. Oh, I wish you could see right now what that's going to end up being. That's all fresh tomatoes from the garden, and once it defrosts, they're just going to go back into the form they were. And now I'm just, when I had frozen them, they're going to be kind of, it's a they're not diced. I don't dice them, but I kind of, I when I split the tomato, I boil them for 1 minute-ish. I wait till all I'm waiting for is for the skin to pop. Once the skin pops, you just peel the skin off, and I have it in my hand, and I literally just randomly chop it in my hand. I don't even pay attention to how I chop it. I just randomly chop it in my hand, and I throw it in the bag. And that's how I end up. So they're very fresh. And that's all I'm doing. Literally, I'm going to let this get to boil. Once it's gotten to boil, I'm going to turn it down on to simmer, and it's going to simmer for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And then when that's done, I guarantee you, absolutely guarantee you, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to add my syrup to my taste because, again, I like to cut that acid. I'm not tolerant of high acid at all, and especially using your tomatoes from the garden. They tend to have more acid than ones that you have canned for some reason. I'm not sure why. So that's all there is to it. It's really easy. And when you're done your 1.5 simmer, 1.5 hours of simmering, you're gonna simmer it until it's got the right consistency that you like, because some people like theirs thicker and some people like them thin. There's no cover on it while it's simmering, by the way, as well. You're just simmering it without a cover. And then I'm gonna flavor it with my syrup. I'm gonna check it. Who knows what else I'll put in there. I may decide that it may need a little, it may need, even though it's got garlic fresh in it, it may need some garlic powder or something. I don't know. I won't know until I try, until it gets to that spot where, okay, this is supposed to be ready to put on some pasta, and then I'll taste it and I'll say, I'm going to add a little this and that. So I can't coax you into or talk you into what you think you should do at this point. But I wanted to tell you something. I'm going to leave the camera for 2 seconds. I wanted to tell you about something. And I should have had this already grabbed. I should have had this already grabbed off the printer. When I was talking about spaghetti sauce last night, my sister-in-law, Marie Kane, said, oh no, homemade spaghetti sauce, I've got that down pat. Roasted tomatoes with onions, peppers, mushrooms, and garlic with your choice of spices, and then blended together. I do it every fall. The trick is to hole out your tomatoes into a colander, save the juice in a bowl, then place everything on a deep sheet pan, add olive oil, lots of salt and pepper, and your veggies, plus the juice from your tomatoes, and roast them. So she puts them and roasts them in the oven. Once done, then you put them in a big pot or food processor and blend. So she has a roasted tomato and, of course, whatever other vegetables she has in here, which, you can see that we would have had peppers and mushrooms. She roasts them, which I think is amazing. I haven't tried that yet because what she does is, as her garden produces tomatoes, she runs out, she grabs them, brings them in the house. She doesn't even let them sit on the shelf very much because she does them from peak perfection of garden to sauce. I've seen her miss a party or something because she's got tomatoes ready and she doesn't want to lose that flavor, and she does them that day. So thank you, Marie, for that. If people want that recipe, I can photocopy what I had printed of hers, but it is posted on, she did make that posting on one of my cooking videos. I just can't, it's not the cookies, it's the one before it. I can't remember exactly what it is. So anyways, as you can see, it's just starting to boil, just barely getting there. The tomatoes are already breaking up. You can see this is only like about half the size it was. You can see them. As you can see, I'm using my spoon to break it off a little bit. See, random pieces. It's already half dissolved. It takes no time at all to dissolve this, and you can see that the tomato pieces are rolling around in your stuff, in your sauce. So there you go. Have fun with it. This is a recipe that's a basic one, and then you just play with it. Add whatever you like, whatever you want in it. It's kind of exciting to have some homemade tomato sauce for a change, a homemade spaghetti sauce, I should say, for a change, because of all that, the years that I've had to do it so quickly with the kids with daycare because they have to eat so fast. So I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you have a great Tuesday. Until I see you again, bye.